Hello and welcome to another very special episode of the Sales Ops Demystified podcast. Today, we're joined by Neil Thomson, who's the Global Director of Sales Operations of Corporate Solutions at JLL. Neil, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Absolute pleasure.
I would love to first jump into the relatively recent move. So we have some guests on that have like 24 years experience in sales ops. You, I think, are slightly newer to the field. So this is going to be a really good perspective on like jumping in the last 1 or 2 years. But you moved, I believe, from a sales manager into the sales ops role like 2 years ago?
Correct, yeah.
Awesome. And so, but before we get into the sales ops stuff, I'd like to understand why this happened.
Why did it happen? So I was doing a frontline sales role at the time. JLL were going through a strategic review of the organisation. It didn't have a formal sales enablement or sales operations function, and part of that review identified that. So long and short, they were new roles that were created within the corporate solutions division of JLL. And I was asked if I would be interested in standing up and heading up the regional EMEA part of sales operations. My background, I come from a sort of an analytical, mathematical type of background, and it seemed like a good opportunity.
I have 2 more questions on this topic. First, so did you say that JL in the corporate solutions or in the whole of JLL didn't have a sales ops function before you created
Just in the corporate solutions component. So our 2 main streams are corporate solutions and markets. I can't attest to whether markets have got a mature, established, all singing, all dancing sales ops. But I think with most firms, sales ops is conducted in some form, some shape, some manner off the side of people's desks, but it doesn't or didn't have that focused attention on it, which I think is what, certainly in the more mature organizations and more mature sales functions need to help take those sales functions onto the next level.
And how many reps were there in corporate solutions before or at the point in which you decided to create the sales ops function?
So within JLL, within the area that I work, so I'm drawing a distinction between there are many salespeople in the organisation and then the sales organisation within which I work. In EMEA, I would guess there was around, let's go for between 15 to 20. And there would have been around, that came under the EMEA Sales Ops banner, around 4 to 5, probably 4 FTEs supporting that complement.
Awesome. And then did you volunteer or did someone come to you and ask you to be the first sales ops person?
Somebody came to me and asked me to be the first sales ops person in EMEA. There was, I think that was late 18, early 19. I think the States were a few months ahead of us in setting up that capability. It pretty much was that sort of timescale.
Awesome. And why do you think they came to you? I guess you may have already answered this previously when you were saying about your analytical background.
Yes, on that. The gentleman that I was working for at the time, I've got a history of working for him for many, many years throughout other organisations. So he was well aware of my background. One thing that I love about JLL is that they do promote from within. They do encourage retention. And so my boss, the regional head of sales, said, look, Neil, this position is coming on board. I know you, I know your background. I think it's something you'd be great at. Would you be interested? And the rest is history, as they say.
And it may be off topic, but I love it when I see people moving around their careers with other people, like someone, let's say the boss gets a new job and then he brings people with him because he trusts and likes them. That person who recommended you for this, is he like a VP of sales? What's his role? And which company did you come from before?
I think anybody can do a quick Google and LinkedIn. So the gentleman in question is Ardell Bunt. So he's regional head of sales for corporate solutions in JLL at the moment. We worked together moons ago for Barclays Capital. He was the head of the regional head of real estate there. I was his COO or chief of staff in that position. We parted ways amicably. I wanted to go off and do my own thing. He stayed on, did his own thing, and several years later, joined back up again. And it's that, there's an element, I think the saying is people don't work for companies, they work for individuals. Your boss can make or break your experience at an organization. JLL is a fantastic organization. And the opportunity to come and work for Ardell, I didn't know JLL was fantastic at the time, but with 4 and a bit years under my belt, having spent 20 years in the investment banking industry, to this day, I still go, the people there are so great. It's really good. So I'm in that fortunate position of working for he's a key stakeholder. He's not my boss anymore. Working for a key stakeholder that I know and have got a good relationship with, in addition to working for a really good company.
Who would you say that your other key stakeholders are?
I took on the regional role, and then late 19, early 20, I was asked to step up and do the global role. So my stakeholders now are those regional heads of sales and the chief revenue officer, but also more so now, finance is becoming increasingly prominent in my activities and the department that I want to build up more relationships with. As JLL tries to consolidate or get a picture of its clients across its corporate entities, it's understanding how corporate solutions interacts with markets, interacts with technology, finding those cross-collaboration opportunities, getting that one view of a client so that we can become more client-centric and, for want of a better description, understand what we as a company do with our clients, instead of it being this department has a relationship, this department has a relationship, and this department has a relationship. Well, how can you bring those relationships together to make the whole greater than the sum of the parts, as it were?
And also find opportunities for up or cross sales, maybe.
100%. Yeah.
The holistic view of the client. I think that could be a good episode title. I would like to focus in a bit more on JLL. It would be great to understand just the amount of reps you're currently working with in corporate solutions, and then also your tech stack, if possible. Yeah.
So number of reps globally. So frontline salespeople is going to be in the region of about 60 to 70. And a question you commonly ask is, well, what is the sales ops complement to support that? So I manage a team of 8 individuals, and they're spread out globally. India, Poland, America, and the UK. So it kind of fits that almost one sales rep for every 10 salesperson that you have. In terms of our tech stack, we're currently migrating from one CRM. We're currently migrating from Microsoft Dynamics to Salesforce. So we as Sales Ops are leading that migration. And it's going as well as most software migrations are going. You expect some problems and issues to come up and some bumps in the road, which you make provision for, but it's the unexpected unknowns that give you the real sort of head scratching moments.
I actually can't fathom. I've never done a big migration like that, but I can understand from other software development application projects that I understand the not the frustration, but the challenges. Let's say. Next up, since obviously that's a big part of your team's time at the moment, I reckon. But are there any other big projects that you have either completed in 2021 or are working on now?
Yeah. So the first thing that we focused on was building the trust and confidence and reliability in the data. At the end of the day, I see sales ops as that function that is enabling those sales leaders to make data-driven decisions. So if you haven't got any confidence in the data, You can either pack up and go home, or that needs to be your starting point. So that's what we focused on. We focused on that heavily, 19 into 20. Now we've got the standard reporting. We know with confidence and reliability, what have we won? What have we lost? What's in our pipeline? We've got consistency over sales stages. We've got a structured, consistent methodology that is globally applied. So when we're doing multi-regional opportunities, or indeed working with other sales teams still within CS, one person's prospect is another person's prospect. We're not cross wires. So we're at that stage now where our monthly sales reports are trustworthy. Okay, they're now automated. Key stakeholders are not questioning the data quality. They're now consuming what's being put in front of them. That's kind of, ticking the box number one. Now, which is the really exciting stuff that I'm looking to get into, is, as I say to my team, I'm looking for you guys to be creative with numbers. I'm looking for you guys to tell the story. I'm looking for you guys to, it's that did you know to the sales leaders. So we are developing and maturing sales ops function. Did you know that X% of your time is spent chasing Y% of your revenue? Did you know that your strategic goals in these sectors are not aligned to your pipeline, or they are, as the case, or they are, as the case may be? So there's that. Once you've got the basics of what does the pipeline look like, then we're going down into, well, what is our target sector? How does our pipeline align to the target sector? What's our sales velocity look like? What are where is our revenue coming from? Is it from new? Is it from expansion? Is it from renewal? Did you know that your salespeople are spending X amount of their time on renewals? As a strategy, is that where you as a sales function in an organization want your salespeople to be focused? If it is, then great. But if it's not, I've just given you the information to support either continuing as is or making a change, again, based on trustworthy, reliable data. It all comes back to, all the hooks are on that one, having confidence in the data.
This totally makes sense, because it's almost like elevating the sales ops function from just not a button pushing organization, but just like the routine stuff, to actually being like the most valuable person in the sales forecasting meeting. Question though, as you mentioned, you're encouraging your team to start telling the story with data. Is this just a cultural thing within the team, or is there any other process or tool that you could put in place to help your team do this more effectively? Or have you thought about that yet?
Yeah, so I think it comes down to the individuals. It is a skill, it is an art, and you've got to have that. Well, I believe you don't have to, but I believe you've got to have that genuine curiosity in the data. I asked one of my team. It wasn't as simple as, but it was along the lines of, I've had a thought. What portion of our pipeline or wins is down to multi-regional opportunities as opposed to regional opportunities? So, my team member has taken that away, and he's come back and he's answered the question, and he's broken it down by division, and he's broken it down by new expansion renewal, and he's broken it down by industry sector. So, I kind of articulate it as we're on a journey, We don't necessarily know the destination, and we're going to take a few turns, we're going to hit a few cul-de-sacs, we're going to do some investigation that's not going to tell us anything interesting. So a big thing that I have is, so what? Just because you can tell me that pigs drive Ferraris on a Friday, what do you expect me to do with that? Where is the value in it? What change can we effect as a result of that? Now, if you're going to tell me that, we have global quotas of X, but our average deal size is Y, and you've got to do 1,000 of those deal sizes to meet that quota, then, that's not going to work. So that's something worth exploring. And then I use it a lot. It's taking it back to the sales leaders and going, did you know? Did you know that you're not aligned? Did you know that your sales velocity is too long or short? Did you know that you're targeting the wrong sort of clients in the wrong sort of areas? So a lot of it is that education. I think there's an element of our sales leaders drinking from a fire hose with the information that we are now able to bring to the table. And the tricky part from my perspective is I've got all of this stuff that I think is valuable that I want you to consume now, which are the small bite-sized chunks that are actually going to resonate with you. Because if I give you everything, the important stuff is just going to get lost.
Awesome. Now I'm going to hand over to my co-host Alex, who has a couple more questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom and Neil. Really, really interesting. Where do I start? I think I first want to touch on the thing you said earlier on about obviously you're head of operations for the corporate team, and then there's the two other sides. Is it markets and tech? Is that right?
Yeah. So you got corporate solutions, technology, markets, and there's some other silos as well, but principally those three.
Got you. Great. And then you said how are you going to bring relationships together from the different departments and essentially focus on that seamless customer experience, so that it's not now I have my corporate solutions rep calling me up, and and any suggestions and tips, anything you found really helpful as you tried to sort that out?
I'm sure JLL isn't the only organisation that has expanded and grown and acquired organisations with their own systems, their own way of doing things, and suddenly. Well, not even suddenly, but you do have that disparate view. Systems don't join up, and the person sitting next to you doesn't know what the person over there is doing. And what do you mean you're talking to that client? I just went and saw them last week. And not it all, but technology has a very, very large part to play in that. At the moment, as I said before, we're looking to consolidate from from multiple CRM platforms onto one CRM. This is going to be part of a multi-year project. JLL is a large global firm. To get everybody operating off the same platform where you can start to exchange information, have visibility, join the dots between markets, who are our investor side, and corporate solutions, which are our occupier side. There are opportunities between the two, but if we don't know who they're speaking to, then how do we identify that? So, in the first instance, being able to have all that data in one place so you can start to connect the dots is the first step on that journey. And as sales operations, I want to do did you know that this group did X amount of business with them over there, and we don't provide these services that we might benefit from? Here's a contact that you might want to go and speak to.
Yeah, fantastic. We've done a lot of things actually using Ebsta to help people really understand their relationships with not just different people in the business, but you said different departments within your business, so that you can really have that unified function. It's definitely something near and dear to my heart, and not just. It's really interesting because I've done it more almost in a sales to sort of CS. Especially in marketing, sort of that flow across the go-to-market teams, not necessarily so much in the department sense, although a bit of that too. So just interesting to hear your perspective there. And I can absolutely see that one CRM have all the data in the same format, so that when everyone's looking at, be a really helpful step. And it's obviously a big project as you alluded to with the migration. I did want to ask a bit about that. How much longer do you think you've got to go with your migration? How's that going?
I think the thing that stood out for me is the volume of people that are involved behind the scenes. It just blows me away. I've got an extremely capable lady in the States leading the change management side of things. And I'll be honest with you, I underestimated the scope, the time, and the effort, and the importance of the change management side. It's massive and a critical component of that. Regarding the migration, the team are working tirelessly on, first of all, the data mapping, the rules. We're in mock run 3 of 4, migrating from target system to source system, heavily into the UAT. We've got a go live not too many weeks away. And things are, look, there are known knowns and unknowns out there as well, and we're just working through them at the moment. But the team have been absolutely fantastic in their dedication and commitment to it. So looking forward to the output, but also being realistic that we will go live with Salesforce, and through no fault of anybody, there will be expected teething problems. And I think the first thing is acknowledging that you're not going to get it perfect. Nobody gets it perfect. It just doesn't happen. And making sure that we put all the necessary checks and balances to minimize any noise, to make sure that user or customer experience is as best as it can be.
Yeah, no, brilliant. That sounds very exciting, and such a big process. It sounds like you're going pretty impressive speed, and all the best as you get close to that go live. And
thank you.
But it sounds like indeed you're heading it up well, and you've got the team running it well. So it sounds like it's all very positive. And as you said, always going to be some problems, but you work through them as you go. The other thing that really a number of things to have. Another thing that was also, I loved your thought about, or the way you described being, wanting creativity in your team and the importance of telling the story, both the did you know, and then also the so what, what's the implication. And yeah, I think it's a fantastically important skill. It's one that probably we don't educate for very well in the school system, because it's all so optimized to grades, and therefore problem solving and creativity has been something crushed out. And so I imagine it's probably almost a universal problem. Like there's lots of people who are good at maths, right? Or good at, and good at numbers and data in a sense. But the real value is indeed, as you said, it's telling the story and distilling it down so that you're drinking the champagne rather than the sort of the polluted water from the fire hose. Have you got any tips on how you've been sort of building that in your team or hiring for it, either way?
I think I'll take the first one, how I'm building it within my team. It's challenging them, but constructively challenging them. So, for instance, today, one of my team put some data in front of me, and I'm like, that's great. You presented me the data, but add your commentary, add your thoughts. What are your takeaways? What can you bring to the table? So that's as point number one. And the second thing is, I will routinely say, guys, this is great work, but so what? What do you expect our sales leaders to do it? I mean, everybody's got a little bit of a geek inside of them, and I confess to that as well. I love the data, I love the thought process, I love the analytic behind it, but what's the elevator pitch? Not everybody is passionate about the numbers. Okay, you've got to find something that resonates with your audience. Okay, your audience are typically looking to sell bigger, better, faster, and more efficiently. So if you can present that to them, I can increase your revenue by X. I can increase your efficiency by Y. Then I think that is what is going to get you a voice at the table. I often use the analogy that we're like gold diggers. We will sift through mountains and mountains of dirt, and in this example, the dirt is the data. And just to find that one golden nugget is where the value is at. So, I've been there myself. Guys, girls, go and play with the data. Go down those cul-de-sacs. Come back and tell me that, I thought about this and it didn't work. It's like, great, you've shown that curiosity. But I thought about this and look what this has told me. I'm like, fantastic. So there is the and, but there's the want, desire, and need to be curious about the data that I think is can be learnt, but I think it's more something. It's just the way some people are wired. Some people are good at English. Some people are good at maths.
And I in your example, you said you asked the guy to go and bring you the multi-market versus single market kind of breakdown, or single regional breakdown, and he came and did this for us. I mean, I was just thinking, because you obviously asked that for a reason, and probably a only a partly baked reason if I know anything about running a team, because you had an idea and you haven't worried about thinking it out. You pass it on. And the fact that he said, oh, look, this is starting to show this. So let me go and break it down this way and see if that changes it. And because you realize that the deliverable you asked for wasn't the end goal in itself. And therefore it's like, how do we help get closer and closer to that? How do I, as you said, adding your spin, because again, among the team, you're all going to have slightly different perspectives, and the more that you can all chip in, the greater the finished product, rather than, Neil is necessarily the best at finding the insights. It's if the whole team runs well and feeds it in, and you multiply the value on top of that.
100%. I don't have a monopoly on good ideas. Every now and then I'll come up with something that sounds like a good idea or smells like one, but guys, run with it. And if you've got ideas of yourself, then equally. I have a hypothesis at the moment that the value of opportunities that we're chasing is too small. The response or the retort from the sales team is, yes, but we need to plant those acorns so that they mature into trees. All right, okay. Kicked off a piece of work. Right, go and speak to finance. Find out whether the acorns that were planted in 18 and 19 are they saplings that are showing good health, or have they just stayed as acorns? Because I would, and it's got to be a hypothesis. You've got to let the facts come to light. It would be great if I went back to the sales team and went, you know what, I had a hypothesis that you were pitching too small. I've spoken to finance, and actually, you need to do more of those small opportunities, or not, as the case may be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a glamour to big deals as well, and they often are longer and slower. And it's really, as you said, listening to the data, not going with what's going to look good, sound good, not being, as you said, not being afraid to be wrong. All of those things are super valuable. And we've often talked about on the show about the sales team being the customers of the sales ops role, and that that they know that if you come to them and say, I didn't think what you said was right, and I went and looked at the data and you were right. I'm sorry, I really, and as you said, let me feed back a little extra bit of gold with it, and then we add some value as well, and that's a really good way, and sets up a really good working relationship. So yeah, would love to be able to be doing more of that. So thank you, it's been really helpful.
No problem.
All right, thank you so much, Neil. I do just want to ask you the final question before we kick off, which is, who in the world of sales ops would you most like to take for lunch?
So this is one of your favourite questions, and I was thinking about it, and probably nobody in the world of sales ops, but I love triathlon, Formula One, and motorbikes, and I'm a Schumacher, Rossi, and Jan Frodeno fan. And what they all exhibit, it does tie back, what they all exhibit is marginal gains, continuous improvement. So, who would I like to take to dinner? Somebody that, embraces that, continuous improvement. There is always room for improvement. Constructively challenged, bigger, better, faster, more efficient. So I think I've successfully dodged that question.
Yeah, very, very good work, Neil. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. I think the core thing that I would like to highlight for the audience here is your focus on, once the monthly sales reports are accurate and the sales leaders are consuming them, how else, or if you would say, did you know, value add? And I think that's really, really important for all sales ops people out there to understand and to try to incorporate into the way they work. So Neil, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.